What's going on, everybody? Razor here. So I just want to go over my Stormweaver build again. A lot of people have been asking me after I put up the video, especially some of the guys that are watching my Twitch streams. We've made a lot of progress. When I originally made part one of my video, my hardcore Stormweaver, my cold spark Stormweaver was at 91. I've made a bunch of modifications since then. As you can tell, I'm 94 at this point. We're trekking forward. We've got some really cool finds. The fundamentals are pretty much the same, but I just kind of want to review it real quick. So let's just start with the skills. As you can tell, most of everything stayed the same from the first video, but we'll review it. Sigil of Power, Persistent, supported skills have 40% more skill effect duration. I still haven't put a perfect jeweler's orb into my spark yet. It's level 20 with 5 additional plus skillers through the items. We have arcane tempo, supported skills have 25% more cast speed. We have considered casting, supported skills have 15% less cast speed, but supported skills deal 40% more damage with spell hits. Acceleration, supported skills have 40% more projectile speed. Supports any skill. This is inspiration, supports any skill, making it cost less to use. Basically that really helps when you're casting, right? Your mana costs. Orb of Storms, we put conduction. Supported skills have 100% more chance to shock. We added Font of Mana. Supported skills grant 40% increased mana regeneration to you and your allies. Objects created by supported skills create a font of mana with a 3-meter radius. Magnified effects, supported skills have 40% more area of effect. We have Frost Bomb. We went with Strip Away. Exposure applied by supported skills have 30% increase effect. Supported skills cause 50% more freeze buildup. And that was Glaciation. Fast Forward. Supported skills have 30% less skill effect duration. And now we have obviously Archmage. 1 plus the lightning skills on Archmage. And we have Grim Feast finally activated. Because we've made some changes, some obvious changes to the structure of the items in the build with the clarity. So we'll review the items right now, but let's just go over my skill tree. So at this point, I went, all the way around here, hitting the mana nodes, similar to the original video. Everything stayed the same. I added this branch off tree here for skill effect duration. 10%, 10%, and then this node up here, skill effect duration, debuffs inflicted have 10% increased slow magnitude. Like debuffs that I inflict. The only changes from the original video that I had put up is right around here and here. So I didn't add this branched off tree here. I actually went for Eternal Youth. And what I found was with Eternal Youth, if you don't have a pot or a flask that will instantly regenerate your energy shield, you're stuck in this scenario, because what happens is once you use Eternal Youth, your energy shield recharge, its auto recharge, is now null and void. So your only thing that you can rely on is the flask. And my recharge rate is actually really high from some of the jewels that I have in. And I was noticing that it's actually much easier for me to just get away from the enemies for a couple seconds and it'll just instantly shoot back up than it was to keep Eternal Youth on and use this flask. Mind you, I would argue if I can get a flask, maybe a unique flask, that has instant recovery rate, I could argue that it would be better to run Eternal Youth. But at this point, I'm not running it until I acquire that flask. Now I just want to go over the item changes that I have done here. So this, actually, I found streaming a couple days ago. I found it streaming a couple days ago. A funny joke, I actually made a clip about it, and I wasn't paying attention if I did a short. It was actually quite funny. The damage was already done. I rolled it with an exalt, and I said, oh no, I got 30% reduced attribute requirements, which it was already pre-existing, but a lot of people are chewing me up. I decided to leave the video up. It was actually really funny. I think it's really funny at my expense. Hope you enjoy it. But it rolled actually 37% increase spell damage. And the secondary roll was the 23% of damage is extra lightning damage. So it actually ended up being a really good wand. We kept the same helm, which is a really tough helm to really beat. This is the upgrade we put on, the Warrior Invictus. A lot of people say, oh man, you should have bought a 5-socket one. But you know, for the cost, it was cheap. It was exactly what I needed. I'm not what you call super rich in hardcore. I don't really believe in RMTing my items. And I'm more grinding for the levels than I am farming divs and exalts. You can do both at the same time. We switched up to the Homoxethol or Homoxetals, if I'm pronouncing that right. The unique Omen Crest Shield. We put one into increased mana and one into all elemental resist. Eventually I'll take this elemental resist one out and go all soul cores with 2+ increased mana, because ultimately my mana is my life pool with mind over matter. One big change I had to make from the previous video was I had to get rid of Eldritch Battery. My energy shield sacrifice by putting this onto mana was not worth it. I lost a substantial amount of energy shield, and some would argue that you should do it because if you're running Grim Feast anyways, your mana cap is going to surpass what it is. I think it was around 4,800 or something like that when I had Eldritch Battery on, and my mana only went up by 1,000. So the trade-off didn't seem right. But ultimately, I do want to get my mana up past 5k, so there needs to be some changes and modifications to balance out my ES and mana a little bit better. But right now, this build is doing great. I can't complain about the build. It's clearing quite quickly, and I feel 100 times safer with this build structure than I did before. We kept the gloves the same. The belt itself, we just kept this in for now, just to kind of balance out the resist. I don't need any more resist, so these are perfectly fine boots, just for item rarity. So I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place at this point. The Everlasting Gaze I'll never take off. The Call of Brotherhood is crucial to my build. I'm a cold spark arc weaver, converting my lightning into cold. Because of survivability, it's huge to be able to freeze with your spark, especially on hardcore. You just have more control over the map. So this is kind of what I'm struggling with, is the Ingenuity belt. I'm wondering if it's worth running the Ingenuity belt because it improves the rings, right? And because I'm wearing a Call of the Brotherhood, I can't. I'll test it out through Path of Building to see what works best. See if it's really worth the cost. They're really expensive to find something that's really close to 80%. I don't feel like it has that much value to me, considering it's only going to be predominantly this ring that's going to benefit from it. But it might. But as it sits, man, the Stormweaver does very well. I'll just do a quick smash down here of a 15. This one, remind you, this roll on this map, I think I just saw, has increase Yeah, so the monsters have 53% monster elemental resist, so they're a lot beefier, and they're going to be able to take my sparks easier. So keep that in mind as I'm about to kill stuff here.
Weakling.
So you see how that freeze comes into effect, right? That was a terrible first monster to hit. That guy... So you are going to run into a little bit of... It's going to feel like there's not as much DPS when you're predominantly full light. You can really start harnessing attributes like conductivity and... But the shield is a game changer, guys, because when I was running the focus... and the Ghost Wraith, my survivability, my ability to get hit, I was like a glass cannon. But all in all, guys, these are the updates to my Stormweaver. Hopefully you find this helpful. I'm going to put another Path of Building link on the bottom. I know importing Path of Building links don't work right now. Somebody commented that on my last video. I put it up there because I'm under the presumption that eventually it's gonna work. And when it does, the link will be there. The video will be relevant in the future, but it isn't really relevant at this point. But I still am gonna add a Path of Building link at the bottom. If you like this content, remember, throw a like, maybe sub, maybe comment. I'm just playing. You take care, everyone. Razorbag signing off.